So, this is the dismal perspectives of oncology. If you see the prognosis, within 15 years, the global cancer cases goes up to 24 million, and at the same time, we will lost over 14 million people because of cancer. We know that every year, thousands of clinical trials running with different anti-cancer drugs, and that has started decades ago, but this is the result. So according to the prognosis and the WHO, we can be sure that if the pharma industry will continue that type of drug development, what they are working on for decades, the future will be, which was shown in the first slide. The question is whether we can change that future. To prove the efficacy of a given drug, there are two ways to collect data. One of them is the double-blind randomized phase 2-3 clinical trials. And if you want to get an approval, you have to complete phase 2 double-blind clinical trials. Recently, it was obvious that even that a clinical trial proved the efficacy or the side effect toxicity of a clinical trial, when it was in the market, turned out that there are more toxic effects, and it was very it was suggested that we have to follow the people even after the drug is on the market. So now there is a other way to collect data. It is called observational data or real-world data or real-world evidence, which means that also the FDA agreed that if we can collect data which is not a double-blind clinical trial, that also can be useful for us. So I try to combine now both type of data that I can present to you. We were lucky to run a double-blind phase 2 clinical trial with prostate cancer patients. That was very long ago. Then the physicians voluntarily agreed to treat the people, and I finally the key issue was whether I could finance. I couldn't, but they carried out the experiment, the study. So in this phase 2 clinical study, we evaluated 44 prostate cancer patients. Just by chance, 22 belongs to the treated, 22 belongs to the control group. The study lasted for 4 months, and those who belongs to the treated group, they consume 85 ppm, the placebo 150 ppm, and everybody received the conventional therapy. So regarding the staging and all these things, the two arms of the study was homogeneous and similar. We followed a couple of parameters. One of them was the PSA, the prostate-specific antigen, and at the end of the study, when we open the envelope and see which number means the deuterium-depleted water, which means the deuterium placebo, it turned out that there was 80% drop in the PSA value, which was only 47% drop in the placebo arm. We also followed the size of the prostate cancer by rectal ultrasound. So at the end of the study, we found 162 centimeter decrease in the treated arm, and it was only 54 in the placebo arm, suggesting that there was a significant decrease in prostate volume. But maybe the most important was the survival. So in spite of the fact that everybody consumed only 4 months the DW or a normal water, we found a year later, 2 people were lost in the treated arm and 9 people were lost in the placebo arm. It's clear, significantly higher and longer the survival and so on. The problem was, because I was asked several times why we don't have a clear evidence. So when the authority and the expert evaluated our data, at that time they didn't write down that there are significantly longer survival on the treated arm. They turn to the next page and they recognize that after 2 months, after 2 years, we were not able to show the significance between the treated and placebo arm. So that would be an example for that we have clear evidence for 20 years that deuterium depletion is extremely effective and could be very useful for cancer therapy. So the other bunch of the data is coming from a retrospective study. We have published already a couple of data. So when we are working not in a double-blind study, we have several ways to detect and follow the efficacy of a drug, progression-free interval or CT or combat response, whatever. I think there is one important thing, the survival. If we can prove that the people live longer, this is a key issue. So we will follow how can we modify with deuterium-depleted water the survival of the people. Let's see again, go back to the cancer. So beside the phase 2 double-blind clinical trial, we also published the data of additional 91 prostate cancer patients. We found that 45 of them were metastasis-free. 46 of them had metastasis. Out of these 46, 33 has a metastasis only limited in the bone. 32 of them had adenocarcinoma, and 20 of them has a bone metastasis within 1 year after the diagnosis. So this is a well-defined homogeneous patient population, and the median survival time in that case was 64.8 months, which means it's about threefold increase comparing to the historical control. When we checked the survival and median survival, those 12 who the bone metastasis appeared a year later after the diagnosis, in that case we were not able to calculate the median survival time because the cumulative follow-up time was over 100 years and we lost 2 people out of 12, so the death rate was pretty low. When we go to the other group of prostate cancer, it was 45 without no metastasis, and again we were not able to calculate the median survival time. Here we lost 4 patients out of 45 out of 157 cumulative follow-up time. So these are clear evidence that depletion helps. We published again data with breast cancer. So in that case, we evaluated 232 breast cancer patients. We evaluated only those patients who consumed DDW longer than 90 days, and they consumed from 105 to 25 ppm. If we see the historical control, we can say that the breast cancer is so-called a treatable cancer type, because the median survival time is 6 to 8 years if the breast cancer is diagnosed in an early stage. Unfortunately, only 15-20% is diagnosed in the early phase, and unfortunately, even if they are diagnosed early and they are treated, 30% of them relapse with a far metastasis, and that time the median survival time is about 1-2 years. So without any selection, we check the median survival time of this over 200 breast cancer patients, and we have here a median survival over 12 years. So that would be a 2-fold increase if everybody would have been diagnosed in an early stage. But in that case, 55% were in a late stage, in a stage 4. So they had hundreds of metastases. On this population, I would focus on 48 patients. So when they were diagnosed and they were recognized, luckily 48 of them became tumor-free. And they received the conventional therapy, but even they were tumor-free, they started to consume deuterium-depleted water. So in that case, the cumulative follow-up time was over 200 years, and we lost only 1 patient out of 48. If we see the historical control, so he should be about 24. There was another aspect. We tried to make different groups from these breast cancer population. So we checked those people who come back and several times made a cure with deuterium-depleted water. So these group come back a couple of times. In that case, the median survival time was 24 years. Those who consumed only for 1 given period, in that time we had only a 1.5-fold increase, suggesting that repeating the deuterium-depleted cure, it's very useful. Lung cancer patients, this year we evaluated 366 lung cancer patients, and without any selection, the median survival time is 2.5 years, which means a 7-fold increase in that case. And if we go back 4 years, 4 years ago we could evaluate the median survival time of 304 patients, and that time we had 4 years median survival time. So at that time we had 6-fold increase. It means the longer, and we know more about how to adjust, how to combine deuterium-depleted with conventional therapy, we even get better and better results year by year. And the reason why can we get a 7-fold increase with lung cancer patients, this is just an example. Here is a small cell lung cancer. She was diagnosed in 2001 with a brain metastasis, and the prognosis was 2 months survival. And beside the commercial therapy, she consumed deuterium-depleted water, 3 months, 23 months, 43 months later, she was fine, and finally she died 12 years later. And in our database, not she is the only one where we can get that type of results. So the real question is, in our database now we have 2,222 cancer patients. And what is the data of these big population? So these table shows the distribution of the different tumor types. And if you see, the breast, lung, colorectal, and prostate cancer represent 54% of the tumor population. And this is almost the same which is present in the country. So these reflect the distribution of the cancer in Hungary. The first part, if we want to compare the median survival time of this over 2,000 patients, we should figure out what should be the median survival time of the Hungarian cancer population. So I will use up the data which was published by Kansler Miklós, who is the #1 oncologist in Hungary. And they published a paper and they cited the data of cancer population between 2000 and 2013. So the very bad news for Hungarian population is that the incidence is over 70,000 and the death is over 30,000. So when we choose the 2013, the data, it means 78,000 cancer patients was diagnosed in that year, and unfortunately we lost over 32,000 patients. If we see the numbers, so the mortality number is 41.6% of the number which was diagnosed in the same year, which is very bad. It means almost half of the population of the newly diagnosed die within a year. If we see these 9 different tumor types, that represent 46.5% of total incidence and 75% of the deaths in Hungary. And the real bad news is that we every year approximately diagnose over 11,000 cancer patients, but unfortunately we lost over 8,000. It's very bad ratio with pancreatic cancer. Over 2,400 was diagnosed, but almost 2,000 has died in the same year. Even same with the stomach cancer. So this means that these tumor types, the median survival time is below 1 year. And if we go further, just choosing that 4 tumor types, they represent 52% of the deaths in Hungary. And the median survival time is lower than 1 year. And from that, we can calculate, and let's suppose that in Hungary, the median survival time for the total population is 2.5 years. It means in Hungary, within 2.5 years, we lost 50% of the cancer population. So keeping that in mind, here are the basic data what we have. Gender, age, body weight, tumor type, date of diagnosis, date of the start of DDW consumption, end of the DDW consumption, the follow-up, end of the follow-up, and the status when we stopped following the patient. So based upon, we can say that the cumulative follow-up time of this population is over 8,000 years. The average time, the cumulative time between the diagnosis and they start to consume DW is over 3,000 years, which means roughly every cancer patient start to consume DW 1.5 year later when they were diagnosed. The patients consumed the DW longer than 2,000 years, and the cumulative follow-up time from the start of DW is almost 5,000 years. So these are the numbers we can calculate and see what's going on. If we do not make any selection, just check the median survival time of this over 2,000 patients. In our case, the median survival time is 11.1 years, which means four-fold increase for the total population. We can make two big groups in this over 2,000 patients. Yesterday I have talked about the 204 cancer patients. They were in remission when they started to consume DW, but we have 2018 patients, they had a tumor when they started. So when we see the median survival time of this two population, of course, for the 2018, there is a reduction in the median survival time because we take out those 200 patients who started their remission. So so the median survival time only focusing on the patients having tumor is almost 10 years. And of course, the patients being in remission, we could not calculate the median survival time because we lost 13 patients only. We checked the median survival time for men and women. It was very big differences between the woman and man. Man's not in a good position in that case because the woman can have 15 years median survival time and the man only 8.4 years. The reason could be, a lot of reasons can be that big difference. One of them can be that the woman's consume average is 60 days longer than the man. We think that there are three important parameters when we are talking about what will be the final results. The length of DW consumption, the staging at the start, and the dosage. So when I said at the very first slide that analyzing the median survival time of over 2,000 patients, it means that everybody was calculated, even those who consume only for 5 days or 10 days the DW. So we reduced the patient number with 67, and we only evaluated those who consume longer than 31 days. No change in the median survival time. Then we ignored the other 91 patients and evaluated those who consume longer than 61 days or longer than 91 days. And we can see here an increase in median survival time when the patients consume longer than 121 days, which means we recommend that 4 months would be the minimum time that the patients should consume just to see the benefit of the DW consumption. And those who consume longer than half a year, in that case, the median survival time is 13 years, so even higher than 11. When statisticians going to find some correlation, they always use the Pearson correlation. So the question was whether there is any correlation between the length of DW consumption and the survival. In a positive correlation, we talk about the number should be between 0 and +1, and the number closer to 1, the stronger the correlation. Over 0.7 is very strong, and between 0.4 and 0.69 is strong correlation. So for the total population, the R value is 0.48, which means strong correlation, and this is the picture what we have. And when we checked cancer type by cancer type, so pancreatic cancer, the median survival time is 13 years, lung cancer 5.1, pancreatic cancer 1.6, colorectal 7 years, breast cancer 17 years, and I collected the DR value. So this is which was shown for the total population. We can see independently what kind of tumor type we check. There is a strong correlation. The longer they drink, the longer they live. And it was very, very strong in the lung cancer and in the pancreatic cancer. The next question is the staging. So when we said 11.1 median survival time for the total population, it means those people were calculated who died within a week. So here we take out five patients because they within 1 month. Here we took out 6 patients because they died within 2 months. He took out other 6 because they died within 3 months. And after that, we see there is a jump in the median survival time. And of course, we take out other 42, they died within 4 months. Here we again got the 13 years median survival time, which of course we cannot say that independently what is the stage and what is the life expectancy of the people, the deuterium-depleted water will cure them. No, this is not true. It's a very important question at what stage the patient can start to consume deuterium-depleted water. The other issue is the dosage. So we've calculated with the formula, the body weight, deconcentration, and the daily volume will determine the dosage. So if we calculate 150 ppm minus the deuterium level of the water patient consume, we divide it with the body weight and then multiply with the deuterium-depleted water they consume, then we get a number. Here is 2 examples. So someone body weight 60 kilogram, consuming 1.6 liter water with 65 ppm, this DD unit is 2.3. When the patient is 80 kilogram and consume only 1.3 liter and 105 ppm, then the DD unit is 0.7. So that way we can stabilize and harmonize and can compare each people with each other. So in that study, what we published in the Journal of Cancer Research Therapy, we choose 74 breast cancer patients, and each patient was followed body weight, the volume they consumed, the D level they consumed, and what was the control results. And we make 2 groups of breast cancer patients, those who the DD unit was bigger than 1, and those who consumed the DD unit was smaller than 1. And in that case, we see the complete response, partial response, no change of progression of disease, where the patients, the dosage was, the DD unit was higher than 1. In that group, 70% of the patients we got complete response or partial response. Where the DD unit was below 1, then almost 70% no change or progression of disease. So it is critical, what is the deconcentration, what is the volume, what is the body weight. And this is shown in that picture, because I asked the statisticians make 2 groups, those who body weight is below 71 or higher than 71, and those who are below 75 kilogram, the median survival time is over 12 years, and those they are higher the body weight, 75 kilogram, then the median survival time is shorter with 3 years, which is a big difference. So the next question, the next slide shows that choosing those cancer patients who start to consume DDW within 100 days after the diagnosis, we choose only those cancer patients who consume DDW longer than 120 days, and we ignored those who died within 120 days. So we have in the database, in that case, 851 cancer patients, and the median survival time is 11.1 years. So we get a 3 to 5-fold increase in median survival time. And we can compare again our data, what we presented 4 years ago. So in 2015, on the third conference, we had these number. That was the number started the consumption with tumor. Today we talk about over 2,000. These are the cumulative follow-up time. The point is we increased with 0.4 years the median survival time within 5 years. It is very important that the average time between the diagnosis is over 300 years, 600 years. And if I go to the next slide, those who start in remission, then the average time between the diagnosis and start the DW consumption is about 300 days, which means that they are still in remission. And if you go back, they were most of them in remission, but because they didn't start it to consume deuterium-depleted or they relapsed, and finally they were in a late stage. So, and in that group we also could say that the death rate from 6.4 reduced to 6.3%. And this is a shocking number. I didn't believe it when finally we got it. So if we start with the number, we diagnosed 78,000 new cases in 2013. We lost over 32,000 patients, and we calculated in 2.4, 2.5 median survival time. And the number we had, we know that our median survival time is 11.1 year, and this is the incidence of cancer. So from this number come out that the death rate should be about 7,000 people in Hungary, which means we should save 25,000 lives every year if the deuterium-depleted water would be part of the therapy. This is very shocking, I guess, and I wouldn't like to think about that has been running for over 20 years. So, conclusions. We suggest start to consume DDW as soon as possible, close to the diagnosis. Consume the proper dose. It doesn't work one day to drink, the other not drink, and then combining it beer and other. No, consume it regularly. Even we suggest when someone in a remission, everybody can be very happy, but to be there and to be in remission for several years, continue for a long period of time, and then you can have a break. And then you start again if you are in a remission. So the break we suggest at the beginning should be a couple of months, then you repeat the cure, then you can increase the length of the break and again and again. No one can guarantee when we will be able to kill all the cancer cells. Nobody. So I'm very angry when the patient said by the doctor, okay, we operated, we were lucky, we could take out all the tumor, you are free and don't worry. It's bullshit. No way. So repeat the cures as for a couple of or for several years. And okay, so final conclusion: drink deuterium-depleted water, and our duty is to find a way to spread the information, to share the knowledge, to get a drug registration, and we have to educate the oncology and all the scientists which is the best way to treat the cancer patients involving deuterium depletion. I say again that thank you all the people, Boros László, Jancsó Gábor, Jákli, different universities and research institute, and I thank you everybody who joined to that venture, hoping the best. Thank you.